hear from you, so get those comments in.
Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening and a warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. I come with loads of good news this evening, everybody. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I have some massive news in case you've been living under a rock for the last 24 hours. But to start off with, the most important news of all, Ian Noble went to a football game. I can't believe it. It happened yesterday, folks. And even more important than that, Aaron Myers has turned up from Melbourne, Australia. Boys, good evening both. How are you?
I'm good. 3 points at last. Ole, ole. 3 points at last. Ole, ole. 3 points at last. 3 points at last. 3 points at last. Ole, ole.
Aaron, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, mate.
Thank you for getting up in the middle of the night down there. I can see surrounding pitch darkness out there. Yeah, I can see that, mate. All that whining you were giving me on by text messages. Oh, do you realise I've got to set my clock for 4 o'clock in the morning? What a load of old cobblers that was.
Yeah, I've got the time difference wrong.
So when were you last on the show?
February, I think Nigel said. Yeah, February.
You are a disgrace to the human race, mate. Get your backs on in more regularly. And welcome our fab, Tim Richards. How are you, mate?
Oh, not too bad, sir. Good to see everyone. Hello.
Look at all those people out in the chat. Lots of happy comments going through in that chat already. I can see Teresa and Dawn and James and Paul and Keith and everybody else. Whoever you are, wherever you are watching in the world, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on this big cyber release show, I think we can call it. Finally, boys, we actually have three points in the bag. Ian, what was life in the ground yesterday?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think, given where we've been and, no win before yesterday, the atmosphere was fantastic pre-kickoff. It really was very, very good. The Homesdale right up for it, all parts of the ground. It was the buzzing. We were absolutely buzzing. So, the team were up for it, obviously, but so were the crowd yesterday, for sure.
Cool. Do you mind if I self-indulge for a minute before we get on with the important stuff like yesterday's game? Somebody watching out there called Ian Griffiths. You might see his message going through on the screen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who don't know Griff, he's a guy I do a different radio show with. And there he is right there. He does something called the Griffiths Drive Time Show, which is Monday to Friday, actually, 4 till 6. But on Friday, he always has a special guest. Okay, and that special guest is me, and on there I'm called the Fabulous Furry Philpott because apparently I'm quite hairy. And we do a show every Friday. Get on there; you'll find us online. New Dawn FM is called. You can find it online. Griff, good evening, mate. I'll see you whatever day we're doing it this week. I think it's Thursday we're recording it, but I hope you're well, mate. And thank you for joining us this evening. I know you're out there. Okay, so great news. 3 points in the bag is long overdue. Where should we kick off? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to kick off with your other team results before we get into the big one, if you don't mind. Results from other teams since our last show. The under-21s on Friday the 25th. The Premier League 2 Division 1 at Stapleford, great training ground in Southampton. The under-21s ran out 2-0 winners against Southampton. And the under-18s on Saturday the 26th. In the under-18s Premier League South Palace training ground, they drew 1-1 with Leicester City. Okay, and the ladies haven't played since the last game simply because of the international break. So, 31st minute yesterday, Selhurst Park erupted. In fact, it went boom. It was a fantastic result. Jean-Philippe Mateta's first half strike clinched Crystal Palace's first Premier League win of the season as they edged a lacklustre Tottenham Hotspur. After being reinstated to the starting lineup, the Frenchman broke the deadlock after Spurs defender Mickey van der Ven was easily dispossessed in his own half, and following a scramble in the box, Mateta powered home his second goal of the season. Big cheer in this house as well. Anyway, Ian, if you'd be so kind, give us your highlights from that match, please, and we're going to get straight into the talking points.
Yeah, I'm not sure there was a scramble in the box. It was more a deft flick by Eze. But listen, we'll come to that in a minute or two. Let's get the lineup up first of all, shall we? because there were 3 changes from the team that started on Monday evening up at Nottingham Forest. In came Adam Wharton, Ismail Sarr, and Jean-Philippe, and out went Will Hughes, Kamada, and Nketiah in the starting lineup. And I've been saying for a little while I wanted to see more of Sarr. We certainly saw more of him yesterday, and it was set up slightly differently to the previous game. Still 3 at the back. In terms of the 3 at the back, Gay played left, Lacroix in the middle, and Chalobah on the right. Now, this is only the first time this season in game number 9 that the same 3 centre-back partnership have played in consecutive games in the same positions. All right, so I think that's telling. The first 7 games, there were 7 different combinations. And then they kept the same. But Gahey in game 7, I think, was playing in the centre. They probably thought he was the senior player, but he's much more effective on the left. And we saw yesterday, goodness me, we'll talk more about him maybe. And it'll be interested in your views in the chat, guys, what you thought of Max Lacroix. Fantastic performance from him. Rolls Royce of a centre-back. And we're asking sort of Joachim who, having watched him play. And you could see, just going fast forward to the end of the game, you could see what it meant to him as an individual when he was rallying the Homesdale at the end, which was absolutely sublime. So, there's lots of talking points. In terms of the atmosphere, I mentioned the atmosphere, and I love this picture that Nigel's going to put up now. And I'll nick this off of Katie, Palace fan in the Homesdale, who took this photograph. And it's just a brilliant photograph of the red and blue smoke going up in front of the Arthur Waite stand. You don't get that view from where I sit, but it was a fantastic atmosphere pre-game. And the game started brightly enough. There were a few half chances either end, but we started on the front foot. And you noticed almost immediately, I don't know what you thought guys, but there was a marked difference in yesterday compared to Monday night. There was intensity, there was press. So if one player went and there was another player that went, and they had a system and it worked and you could see it. And they analysed it on Match of the Day too, actually, which was really interesting. Nick.
Yeah. I've got my thoughts on why the intensity was there, why everything worked and clicked yesterday as opposed to Monday night, was very simply on the right-hand side in front of Munoz. We had Sarr, Ismail Sarr, who he gave Munoz an outlet and allowed us to carry out the high press. And the high press that I have to say I haven't seen since the back end of last season, because we haven't played it very well, very simply because obviously since the departure of Olise, Munoz had nobody to play with, literally had nobody out there to help him out. And they were overlapping all afternoon, and that's what created the high press. And it actually, because of Sarr, it actually released Eze to actually play a little bit of football. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Sarr got balls into the box as well. The first 10 minutes, I think I counted a couple of times, he got the ball crossed into the box. They weren't the best crosses necessarily, keeper collected them or they were overhit or something, but he was trying to get the ball into the box. Tim, you watched the game on TV. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen them play like that, like you said, Nick, since last season. And it's not just Sarr. Press only works if the whole team press in banks of 4 or banks of 3 or whatever. And yesterday was the first time this season you've had that. I mean, the goal came from the press. Wharton, I think, made a hell of a difference. And to be fair, Hughes, when he came on, I thought, again, he made a hell of a difference. And it was a completely different performance to anything we've seen all season. And I know his name's already been mentioned. A few people, hi Bruce, by the way, in the chat have mentioned Lacroix. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, a lot of us were like, "Oh, don't know about him." But look, over the last few weeks, how much has he's improved? And like you said, the game he had yesterday was inspired.
But don't you think, Tim, that's part and parcel of getting used to the Premier League, getting used to the division, used to the culture, pace of the game, and everything else? I mean, it's going to take time, isn't it? And Glasner has made comment this week about the window, about the fact that 4 players came in on deadline day, and that is no way to prepare for a season 2 weeks after the season started. And Lacroix was one of those, I think, wasn't he? He came in.
And he also made the point that Chalobah was training with Chelsea's under-21s, so he had no pre-season. Sarr hadn't been signed at that point, and I think his points were absolutely valid. In fact, what I think it will indicate to in the January window and going forward, all the time he's there, is that they're gonna get hold of the transfer window by the scruff of the neck, do their business early, and give them the pre-season or the extra training time. While all the time our manager's there. Somebody said, Teresa just said in the chat they were playing for the badge. I actually disagree with that a little bit. I actually think for once they were, there was lots of talk. Has Glasner lost the dressing room? Blah blah blah. No, I think they were playing for Glasner yesterday. I really,
I think you're right there, Nick. I think they were playing for each other as well. You know, they knew they know that it's down to them. They know they've got the ability. And there's no one questioning that. No one's saying Crystal Palace aren't good enough to stay in the Premier League. They're just saying it's not clicking at the moment. Aaron.
Yeah, to me, like what you're saying about the press, it was just our manager outclassed their manager in Ange. He outclassed him yesterday. You look at the way that we press from the off. Like I know Tim mentioned about Hughes, but Lerma was doing it as well before he went off the pitch. He literally you could see in the way we were playing, he would have told them, go out and press them. They're going to play from the back. How many times did their centre-backs and keeper make a mistake from our press? It was evident in the first half. It kept coming. We just tactically outclassed them, and that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, does that make it sweeter that there's an Australian in charge, or doesn't it matter?
Ange is a lot of people think Ange very highly over here, so I won't.
Talking of Australians, it was good to see Mile Jedinek walk along the touchline. He wasn't. We were trying to get his attention before the game to give him a sort of wave thumbs up. He wasn't.
He looks about 20 years older. That beard is very grey.
He's really aged, isn't he? He's really aged, but he was really focused, and he looks a mean bastard even now, But anyway, Tim, you want to come in?
No, just following on from what Aaron said, I can't remember the exact stat, but they were said on the commentary that I saw that we dispossessed them the highest number of times in any Premier League game, apart from Spurs, the same number in the Spurs Brighton game, I think. Because of the press, we got the ball off them the most in any Premier League game this season. So
yeah, and we've got a stat actually. We've got a graphic for this. So if you're watching it live or you're catching up, hopefully Nigel can get to it. Here we go. So Spurs lost possession 49 times in the build-up against Palace, leading to 7 shots. It's the worst single game result in the Premier League this season. We nicked this off of Twitter of somebody's. I haven't given them credit. I've taken that off of it. And then we lost the ball 16 times in the same way. But that's quite telling, and that's all to do with our press, of course, and them trying to play out from the back. But we knew that was their tactic, so that's what we went with. And of course, it paid dividends. And before we talk about the goal, we've touched on this already. Lerma lasted just 22 minutes. He's played a lot of international football as well as club football, travelling with Colombia. And it is a hamstring, apparently, so that doesn't bode well, but we don't know how severe it is. But what a replacement Will Hughes is. He really was tenacious. I think he's been... I would even go as far to say that Will Hughes has been our best player this season, collectively, across all the games, because he's always had a good game. He's never had a bad game. Whereas other players, have come and gone. Eze's lots of ball. Tim, you criticise Eze on this show. Other people have not played particularly well. But Will Hughes has always had a good game, always given 110.
Chelsea.
Yeah, okay. Maybe Chelsea. Yeah, okay. Maybe not the Chelsea game. But I think every other game I've seen him, I think he's been really, really good. And he was fantastic when he came on yesterday. And the other one was Adam Wharton. He didn't play at Forest. They were expecting him to feature at Forest at some point. He didn't get on the pitch. And there's been all this speculation about his groin and will he have an operation or won't he? And I think the answer is he will have one at some point when it's the right time for him and the right time for the club. But he played 90 yesterday and he was fantastic yesterday. He was busy the whole time and he looked back to his best, didn't he? Aaron, you're nodding, you're agreeing with me?
Yeah, I mean, if he's playing with an injury at the moment, I'd like to see what he's going to be like when he's injury-free. because he was terrific yesterday. Everything about him, his press, he just passes forward. He's always looking to make something happen. I remember on the show a couple of weeks ago, you boys were talking about it in that midfield without him being there. There's no one that's really looking to thread the eye of the needle per se, or look at them forward passes. And he's the one that does it for us. And without him, we do look a different team at the moment for sure.
Sure. And it was the Munoz press that won the possession. He picked Mickey van der Ven's pocket, didn't he, when they were trying to play it from the back. And instead of looking back, he looked up. He found himself in a bit of space on the right-hand side, crossed the ball in, and what a brilliant piece of skill by Eze just to flick it back with his back heel into the path of Mateta, who put his head over it, drilled it low and hard, and couldn't really miss. There you go. And took his joy out on the corner flag of the old stand and the White Horse there, giving it the old traditional celebration. Fantastic. And no, producer guy Nigel's actually in that picture. Can anyone spot him? He is in there somewhere, apparently.
Where's Wally?
Yeah, where's Wally? Yeah, making a guest appearance at Selhurst Park.
I thought he was the one kneeling down on the sideline.
No, you can't. That's a scary photograph. Oh, if you're just listening to this on you haven't got the pictures. This is a picture of John Philippe Mateta celebrating with Munoz, giving him a stare. That's Halloween-esque, isn't it? My goodness me.
That is a scary picture, isn't it?
Brilliant photograph.
Ian, can I just revert back to Hughesy just for 1 second? And I think I make you right, although the bar has been set pretty low all season. He has been our player of the season so far. I mean, he's just aggressive in there. It's something every football team likes. It's somebody in the middle who will put their foot in there. The only thing that concerns me about him, and I promise you it's not a negative, okay, I worry about his tally of yellow cards. I don't know I don't know how many yellow cards he's picked up already, but every time he plays, he gets a yellow card. I think it's probably every game this season.
We ought to know the answer to that question. It's a good question. We should know that. So anyone watching in the chat, can you just tell us how many yellow cards Will Hughes is on? He certainly picked one up yesterday from the bench.
What is it that they say? Death taxes and Will Hughes getting a yellow card.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all over, isn't it?
He's certainly got a yellow in most games. And he does need to be careful because he, as Tim's already alluded to in that Chelsea match, he was lucky to stay on the pitch before he was substituted. He was really fortunate. He should have been sent off, really. He should have been sent off, yeah. I think we all admit that and agree that. But sometimes you need a bit of luck. And in that game, we got the luck. In other games, of course, we haven't. Towards the end of the first half, 6 minutes of stoppage time. I'm not quite sure where they got it from. Must have been the Lerma injury and other stoppages. But, it was 6 minutes. You don't often see that at the end of a first half. Will Hughes is on 4 yellows. Thank you, Paul Bristow. I knew you would help us out.
I knew you'd be out there, Paul. Good evening, mate. Well done.
Absolutely. So one more and he misses again. So he's suspended after he picks up 5. He's probably our highest number. Paul, tell us if anyone's got any equal to him. Probably not. Brilliant save by Hendo towards the end in stoppage time in that first half. Really fantastic save. Yeah, and he's been dug out for the goal at Nottingham, but, he played very well again yesterday, did Dean Henderson, proving why he's in the England reckoning, proving why he's really giving Jordan Pickford a run for his money when it comes to the England #1 jersey. And, we're not quite in love with him as much to see England's #1, but, maybe it will be quite soon before that rings around Selhurst Park because he really is a good goalkeeper. And he just needs to keep his confidence high because he's a fantastic shot stopper. Sometimes I think his distribution lets him down. He's finding people with passes yesterday a bit, but he doesn't release the ball maybe as quick as other goalkeepers at the top of their game. But he made an excellent save in stoppage time to keep us leading as we went into the break yesterday. So in second half, an awful lot happened in the first 15 minutes of the second half. In the biggest period of the game, I think. If you blinked, you sort of missed it and you think, crikey, what's happened there? Munoz almost scored, actually, at one point. He floated the ball into the penalty area, and I think it was a cross, but he mishit it slightly, and it just dipped over the bar. It wasn't too far away, I don't think. Henderson saved again well from Kulusevski. Brendan Johnson put the ball in. He had quite a quiet game, Johnson, really, by his standards. But Henderson saved well. Before there was the second goal when Eze scored. It was closer than it seemed on the pitch. It was flagged offside. And it went to VAR to check. And we didn't really celebrate in the ground because we sort of knew that it was going to be disallowed. And in the main stand where I sit, there's a bank of TVs in the corner, and we're turning around trying to see what was happening there. But had he left it just a second or two beforehand, he was almost in his own half. He just crossed the halfway line a tad too early, Aaron, didn't he? Did you notice that on the telly? How did they analyse it in Australia on the TV?
Well, we get the I don't know the exact, but I imagine it will be the BT or the Sky recordings anyway, and then they just flip it over to the Australian channel. It's all on the same broadcast. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not in the stadium like you guys, unfortunately, but I saw it was clearly offside as soon. You could tell because there was a Tottenham, obviously, defender in their own half, but he was barely in there, and Eze was obviously, he was a fair amount in there at the point where the ball was played. So as soon as it went in, I knew it was offside. But yeah, if he holds that run a little bit, that would have been 2-0. And I think we would have, especially in the ground, I think you lot would have been breathing a lot easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the time there's only one goal in it.
Ian, it's worth expanding on what you just said. That if he'd held his run just by about half a second more, why? Okay, I know the answer, but maybe there's some listeners and current viewers out there don't understand the reason why. Had he stayed in his own half, go on, explain it.
Me?
Yeah, because you raised the point.
And I think, well, if he stays in his own half, he's not offside, is he? If he
correct, and a lot of people don't understand.
Everyone knows that, but I think it's worth just reflecting how good he was in that situation, even though he went early, because he had an awful lot to do still. He had an awful lot of grounds cover, and he held his nerve, and he got his shot away, and he beat the goalkeeper. I know the goalkeeper sort of fumbled it, but nevertheless, he still scored, and he did really, really well. A lot of players don't do that from there. They haven't got the ability to run that length of the pitch and get the ball in the back of the net, but he has. That's how good he is, and I think what we've seen yesterday, there's Tim. Be interested in your views on this because you mate. I'm going to mention this because last week you were all for dropping him. You would say drop him. He's not good enough.
Yeah, and I stand by it. If a player plays 8 games, does nothing but cost the team, why should he automatically assume his place is safe? I mean, yes, he was brilliant yesterday, and thank God he played. But a player, you're almost 25% through the season. You've had a player, Joe Bloggs, who does nothing for 8 consecutive games, loses the ball, has many chances to score quality. He's been unlucky as well, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but
totally.
He's also had a lot of chances where last season were getting put away and they're not. There has to come a point where you have to say, look, we're going to give somebody else a chance. You can't, just because you're player X that had a great season last season, it's like Rashford. You don't automatically play them just because beforehand they were doing well.
Hang on. I don't want to spend ages on this, but you're saying he's done nothing. But he scored at Chelsea, didn't he?
Good goal too.
Tim, can I ask you a
very good goal at Chelsea. Yeah,
I know you got slaughtered last week by me and Lucy on this subject, Tim. Okay, if that was the case, did you ever see a time where we should have dropped Wolf Zaha?
Yeah,
in his last season with us.
This whole thing about a player being put on a pedestal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not doubting either players' performance levels or quality at all. But then, how many times we used to watch Wilf did we say on this very show, getting fed up of his attitude, he should be dropped, put him on the bench for a game. Just because your player X is brilliant doesn't mean they should automatically get their place. We're always saying, bring the youth forward, bring other players forward.
Right, okay, I'm going to stop there because you made your point. That line is clear, and Paul Grant agrees with you. Tim, you're spot on. But the reason I think he would get the benefit of the doubt for being selected when he hasn't played that particularly well is because the manager knows what a good player he is, and he can just turn it on like that. And I'm absolutely with Oliver Glasner that you pick Eberechi Eze unless he's injured. I really do. He's not going to play that badly. He proved yesterday what a good player he is, what a fantastic player he is, and he's got to be mindful of the fact that he's out of the England squad at the moment, and there's another squad coming up quite soon. He wants to be back in that England squad. He's got an incentive to play well, not just well for Crystal Palace, but for his international career also. And if a big club is going to come in for him, and we were a little bit surprised that they didn't in the summer, then he has got to play at the top of his game. He's got to be really, really good. And I think we won't see him with other players around him. I think he's going to carry on improving, being the player we know and love, rather than the player that you want to drop. Here we go. That shut everyone up, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
Somebody made the point in the chat just now. These star players like Eze, Olise, Zaha, they can't do their business. They can't do what they do best and be playmakers and do all the special tricks and flicks if they're sitting on the bench. And yesterday was a classic example. Yeah, I know he was poor the last few games, and he has been poor. I'll give you that, Tim. But yesterday he was sublime. He got the freedom he needed. I honestly think that Ismaila Sarr is actually partially responsible for that, okay, because he took that space, giving him the freedom to do what he does best in the middle of the park. And absolutely. So it's thank goodness he did play well, as you said, Tim. So he came close in scoring a goal that was ruled out for VAR for offside, and then there was the penalty appeal. So let's have a little talk about this one, because we broke down the right hand side. Sarr pulls the ball back. He finds him in the edge of the box. Penalty or no penalty? Aaron?
You've dropped me in it here first. I don't think so. I can see why it would be given. It would have been soft. It's one of them, Ian. We spoke about it obviously before. If the referee gives it, VAR doesn't overturn it. I'm telling you that now. But the ref doesn't give it. VAR's not going to overturn that. So, it's in the 50-50 camp. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say it should have been given because we're all Crystal Palace fans here. But I can see why it wasn't given. Put it that way.
Tim?
Well, if the one in the West Ham United game was given, then that should have been given. That was no less a penalty than the one with Ings, and as they didn't handball it first. So it comes back to the inconsistency of VAR. But for me, because of that, it was a penalty.
Very good. Nick?
Yeah, top six club would have got that all day long. But for me, he was going away from goal. I think...
No, we're talking about a penalty here. We're talking about a penalty, not the red card or potential red
card.
Right,
it wasn't a penalty for me. It wasn't
okay.
A
I think we got mixed views in here. Penalty, the player pulled in with his arm, says RP66. Paul Bristow, I agree with Aaron on seeing it back. I could see why he might not have given it. Rob Cranfield, if the West Ham was, then that was. So, I thought... Yeah, you could argue then on the back of this, unlucky for it not to be given. Big six club, Manchester City, Liverpool.
Can I just say on that point? Sorry, Ian, to interrupt. Right. Can I just say on that point, like looking at it back, he had time to take that shot, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, okay.
I think you got to take a hit there. In that seat, I get he's a fancy player. He dances around a little bit, but for me, there's a couple of opportunities there to shoot. Test the keeper. Let's just try it out. I understand that he's been contacted, but it's gone down a little easy as well. Just take the shot. I mean, he's so close to the goal there. I think that goes in anyway. So, that's where I'm kind of divided on that one.
Yeah, maybe you have that. Maybe you coach him into doing that next time. But he's got his feet. He wants to steady himself. He wants to make sure. And it was Van der Ven again, I think, wasn't it? Van der Ven seemed to feature in every single controversial incident for Spurs with their back four. And he had his arm across him. He's had his arm across him, holding him back. If that's anywhere else on the pitch, it's a free kick. You know, the referee sees it. That's the problem. That's the inconsistency that we get with free kicks and penalties not being given in the 18-yard box, because you know they've got different almost levels before they give them.
You just feel as well like it's going to go back to it. I'm nowhere near comparing Wilfried Zaha to Eberechi Eze, by the way, but you know, you go back to the point where he is our star talisman now. Put it like that. You know, he is that kind of same sort of player. I feel like because Wilfried Zaha got tagged with that for years, like every single time, you know, Eze might go down, we are going to have a target on our back. It's the way it's going to be.
Okay. All right, let's move on. No penalty given. Feel a little bit aggrieved that we haven't got one. They had a couple of shots on goal. I think Maddison had a shot from sort of distance that Henderson dealt with well. You'd expect him to save it. And then there was a next incident really worth noting was Eze plays Sarr in this time, and he shoots and he's caught the keeper wrong-footed, but he just manages to get his feet to it. And another day that's in the back of the net. You know, it really is. It's just a bit fortunate from their goalkeeper, I think. I like Sarr yesterday. What were your thoughts on Sarr, Tim, and then Aaron?
I definitely his best. He seemed really up for it yesterday. He seemed whether the manager's words during the week where you haven't been good enough when you've come on to warrant a start stung him a bit, and he was more up for it. But him, along with the rest of the team, he seemed really up for it yesterday. Yesterday I could see that's why we bought him. I could understand why we did actually go in for him in the end.
Yeah, and he's got experience in the Premier League with Watford. You know, I know they got relegated, but he was their talisman there. Scored goals, a lot of goals in the Premier League. Aaron?
I agree. I think it's what Nick said literally at the start of the show. I don't usually like to agree with Nick, but I have to on this one, unfortunately. But no one likes agreeing with him today. Yeah. But what it allowed to do is it allowed, especially, you know, when we played Forest the other day as well, it allowed Munoz to get forward as well. It just allowed them to interchange and play a lot better. I think having Kamada and Munoz, it just doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work. We've all screamed it. You guys have screamed it for previous weeks. And having Sarr there as an out-and-out wide player when Kamada isn't, it just allows Munoz, I think, to get forward a bit more as well and interchange and link. And I think it worked, and I think that's how it's got to stay.
And do you know what? He didn't stay on the right either, because it was the time when he did come inside and there was a lovely ball forward that Mateta flicked on. And Mateta doesn't win a lot in the air, but he managed this one. He flicked it on and Sarr was away. Yeah. Van der Ven gets back, gets the challenge in and pulls him down. Now, he's going away from goal, but for me, he's the last man. You tell me, if you're an Arsenal supporter and you're watching that, the Saliba one at Bournemouth, hardly any difference. And that was well out. That was towards the halfway line. For me, he's the last man. You could say, I think it was Basuma was sort of covering level. But if he hasn't caught him and he gets away from him there, he can change direction easy enough and he's through on goal. So for me, Van der Ven was the last man. So red or yellow? I'm going to come to you, Nick, first of all.
No, that was a yellow card. I mean, I think the most important thing of everything you just said there, he was going away from goal. He was going away. Just going back to Sarr, mate, I'll try to get in a second. There is something about Ismaili Sarr, boys, and I don't know if any of you have noticed it. He's a lump, okay? He's a big, strong, powerful boy, okay? I wonder what he would be like as a number 9. Do you know that? Because that's what he's built like. He's built like and shaped like a big old-fashioned number 9.
He's quick as well, I think. He's quick as well.
And he's fast as well. Yeah. I don't know what his goal-scoring record was like. But I think
play him as a false 9. You know, we'll see. You know, maybe he'll get a chance to do that as well. So you're saying yellow, Nick.
Yellow.
A few people in the chat are saying red. I've got RP66, Ian Appleby, red. Tim, red or yellow?
Oh, I was going to say yellow, but like Aaron said, that means agreeing with the other one above me, so I'm going to go with the red.
Red card. What about you, matey, down under?
Yeah, you know me, mate. That's a red card all day long. I'll put my Crystal Palace goggles on. That's red. I can see all the comments coming in. Yaz as well. It's the exactly same as Saliba's. It is. So why is it a red card? Yeah. I can understand what you're saying about him coming going away from goal, but I don't think they would have covered it. So yeah, red card all day long.
Absolutely, it was level with me in the ground. Yaz will know she'd probably be laughing as I say this. I'm on my feet, screaming that it's red.
Paul's comments there are very, very valid. Bristow's comment, forget the term last man, as it confuses the argument. It has to be a clear goal scoring opportunity. It wasn't. Okay, that's a yellow card.
Oh, come on, Paul. Put them Crystal Palace glasses on, mate. Come on.
There speaks the former referee, Paul Bristow.
I've just worked out why Nick is so keen for Paul to come on the show, because he agrees with Nick. So
Somebody's got to do that, haven't they?
Well, the majority of people in the chat think it was a red card, but I think most of us are biased. So there we go. I mean, you could turn it on his head. That's against us. If that's our defence, if that's Lacroix that pulls their player there, pulls Madison down like that, or Johnson, is it different outcome? You don't know, dear. But
can I just say something here, Ian? Yaz has put that you ran down the stairs to shout at the lino yesterday. I mean, that is. I mean, have we got a little hooligan in the crowd in you, Ian Noble? I didn't know that.
I've seen him do that. I've been behind him when he's done that. So
don't worry, he won't be doing it against Brentford, Forest, or Wolves, because guess what, guys? He won't be at that game either.
I tell you what, I didn't come on last week. I got stick.
We love you, really, mate.
I did give the linesman hell yesterday a couple of times because he was so poor. He was really poor on our side. He really was. But listen, at the Liverpool game, I took my granddaughter with me. I was better behaved. Fulham game, she'll be with me again. I'll be better behaved. So there we go. Look, where are we going? I've lost my place in my notes now completely.
We're after the red card now.
Yeah, it's after the red card. So it's only a yellow card. Hughes put Eze in, shot save well. Hughes was involved a lot on the edge of the box, and he very cleverly just passes it sideways to someone that can shoot better than he can. And he did this to Eze from a free kick that we got given. It was from the resulting free kick, I think, from the challenge we've just been talking about. And he passes it to Eze, and he takes the ball forward, and it's rasping. The keeper saves it well. And Chalobah hopelessly fails to follow up, but he was the offside anyway, I think. And then Hughes again, this time to Adam Wharton on the edge of the box. Now, Adam Wharton scored for us yesterday. We spoke earlier about what a good game he's had, but it would have been the icing on the cake for him if this had gone in. He really caught hold of it very, very well indeed. And, Vicario, whatever his name is, the Tottenham goalkeeper, makes a save that's classy, right top, a very good save, right up there with similar to the Selhurst one at Forest from Eze, really good goalkeeping. And it keeps it at 1-0. And what I liked about yesterday with Adam Wharton was, did you notice that Adam Wharton now has the Andy Johnson chant? Yeah. Adam Wharton, and that was just fantastic, as he went off, and it was just brilliant.
Can't wait for him to score, because apparently he's got some spectacular goal celebration that, unfortunately, as Palace fans, we haven't seen yet.
I know we haven't. No, he does somersaults and all kinds of stuff, but maybe he won't if he's injured. You really don't want him to
of course.
injure himself. But no, listen, when he did come off yesterday, he got a standing ovation around the ground, and there was 7 minutes of added time. At the end, and when you're 1-0, as we said earlier, goodness me, you're biting your fingernails thinking, goodness, just to kick it in a touch, it's waste time, another few minutes. There was a time when Werner, who was off the bench for them, he crossed the ball really well into our box, and it was fizzing on the ground, and Hendo got down and saved it. And another day, a goalkeeper spills that, and one of their forwards follows up and puts it in, but it wasn't to be for them. I thought Tottenham, people say they didn't play that well, and some of the stats would sort of maybe confirm that, but they're still a class side. We beat a very good team yesterday. There's no doubt about that at all, Tim.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think we give the team enough stick when they deserve it, but Spurs were a form team in the league at the moment, and it wasn't a lucky victory. We played really well. We made them make the mistakes they made. So now I think yesterday's one of those, there are 1-0s and there are 1-0s. And that one, we thoroughly deserved the victory. It was a great performance. And I think that the team deserve a lot of praise for it.
Talk us through these stats then, Tim.
I hate stats. I mean, possession, yeah, all right, 34%.
That's why I asked you.
66. But what did they do with that 66%? They were no better than us. I mean, shots on, total shots and shots on target, we were better. Yeah, all right, they had a lot more passes completed, more free kicks. But really, what did they do with them? I mean, they just passed the ball backwards and forwards. They weren't penetrating. They didn't really cause us too much concern. So no, I thought really good performance.
Aaron.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. I think that they weren't the best, Ian, as well. You say that they weren't at their best, but I agree, and I bring it back to the point. I think we outclassed them. And tactically we outclassed them. We knew that they were going to play out from the back, we played out the back pretty much the same, but you didn't see them press as hard as what we did, and we pressed harder, and we forced them into mistakes, and that's how we win.
Song.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Yeah, good point, actually. And I said, I did some of you would know, I did a podcast for Tottenham opposition preview before the game, and they asked me who we feared from their side, and the one player is Son, because he always turns up against us. He is their talisman, he's their playmaker, and he's a very, very good footballer. And, when he was missing in the week, I thought, here we go. And then when they announced he was doubtful, I thought, oh, goodness me. And when I saw the team sheet, thank goodness he's not playing, because he is a thorn in our side very often. And I think that was a bit of a... Sometimes you get a bit lucky in over the course of a season in terms of, when you play a team and the players they've got available to them makes a difference. So it was one of those yesterday for us. So
it also could have been, we say it was a 1-0 win. For me, that could have been a 2-3-0 win for us as well. That 1-0 scoreline, I know we're struggling to score goals at the moment, but, Vicario doesn't pull out them two magnificent saves, and then the Sarr one, which doesn't deflect off his leg very luckily. It's a whole different game. So, it's a very good, convincing 1-0 win. Like, as Tim's alluded to on the last couple of weeks, we need to see fight and we need to see a performance. And yesterday we got that.
And I think also, the thing we've got to remember is we're creating chances. It's not like when, under Roy, we barely create a chance a game if we were lucky. We're creating a lot of chances every game. Yeah, they're not going in at the moment, but they will do. It's just a case of the team gelling.
I think you're right, Tim. We had 6 shots on target yesterday, and again, we only scored 1 goal. And is that a bit of a concern? Maybe,
but their keeper was in good form as well. We talked about that. Interesting. Dawn says at one point they had Werner, Richarlison, and Solanke as their front three. Now that's a pretty impressive front three for a team that's missing their best player as well. So they've got strength in depth all over the pitch. Tottenham and throw Johnson into that mix as well. He played 90 minutes. They're decent. They paid 50 million for Brendan Johnson, for crying out loud. And
then look at. I'm sure we'll come on to man of the match in a minute. But our three centre halves made him look pretty bang average yesterday.
Yeah, because they played well. They won their battles. So and we said earlier that we've got them playing together now for the first time. And the Chelsea fans I've spoken to, they were very disappointed to see Chelsea let Chalobah go. They like Chalobah at Chelsea.
Don't fall in the old adage. Don't fall in love with a loanee. We know that.
Oh, absolutely. We've done it before, especially Chelsea loanees. So.
Exactly. Right, guys. Thank you for the segue there, Aaron, because I'm about to do man of the match, ladies and gentlemen, out in Facebook land or YouTube land right now. Could you give me your man of the match yesterday? Because it seems to be a split, and as you can see, Max Sense is on there. He's showing there, but he wasn't given the BBC man of the match. I've got the player ratings in front of me. Adam Walton took it on 7.89, followed by Eze on 7.86, followed by Mateta on 7.82, and Max is down in 7.64. To me, it was Max Sense all day long. Okay, and can anybody out there in YouTube land set an argument against that? Boys, your thoughts, please. Tim, your man of the match yesterday.
I'm going to sort of be slightly out there, and I'm going to say, for me, man of the match yesterday was the manager, because he wasn't afraid to make the changes that we were saying. He showed passion during the game. He was getting the crowd going. So for me, unless you got a man at the top doing that, that's who the players play for. We've already said, the players were playing for him last night, or yesterday. So for me, I'd go with Glasner. That's my choice.
What about your players? Forget Glasner then. What about the players on the pitch?
Oh, I think it's probably unfair to name one. I think Hughes or Lacroix for me.
Okay. I'm going to say Mateta because he scored the goal. You don't win games unless you score goals. The goal scorer gets man of the match, usually. He played well as well. He played 90. I liked him yesterday a lot. I liked his attitude. So I'll go Jean-Philippe Mateta for me.
And Aaron?
I'm agreeing with everyone in the chat, which is probably, I'd say 90% of the chat, probably except for Yaz, Lee Clark and a few others. But I'm going to have to go with Lacroix. I thought he was amazing. Like you people, I think it was Ian said at the start, Rolls Royce. He was a Rolls Royce yesterday. He was exceptional. I like him in the centre as well. I actually, because I don't unfortunately get to watch many of the interviews after the games because they don't show that on Australian television. I get to watch the whole game, but not the interviews after. But I didn't realise how well spoken he was in English as well. Like he is very well spoken.
You've done it again. You've done it again, mate. Thank you. And the segue is, he said, speaking to Palace TV after the game, I'm so happy for the team. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for the fans for this character. We trained a lot. We showed a lot today and the fans and what people want to see. Lacroix is a defensive. It's quite a long quote, but what he's actually saying, and he is very well spoken, is that this is not just for the players, not just for the managers. You could see the way he was with the fans at the end of the game in front of the home cell. I actually think he's starting to get Palace. He's starting to get Palace. Mateta's been doing it for weeks now, geeing up the fans, but Lacroix did it at the end of the game. Ian.
So here's a question for you. One of the arguments against us recently has been we haven't got a leader on the pitch.
I was about to say.
We haven't got a Jedinak. We haven't got a Milivojevic.
Yeah.
Anderson's gone. Could Lacroix be that player that captains Crystal Palace Football Club going forward with or without Mark Gahey? I mean, Mark Gahey's got the armband, but listen, I love Mark Gahey, but he's not a leader on the pitch. For me, he's too quietly spoken. He has his moments, but Lacroix is more of a leader in my book. So could he be that person that captains Crystal Palace Football Club? Definitely.
I think so. And the thing that struck me yesterday is I remember when he came to the club, all I was hearing is how good he is in the air. Struggling in the air. He's brilliant in the air, which he probably is. But yesterday's game struck me is how good he is on the ground, playing the ball, the tackling, the positional play, how calm he was coming a few times where, he's done a bit of pressure in our box with the ball. He just played his way out. So, it's kind of looks like he could be that next stage.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
On to the, just looking at the comments, John Ellicott, evening, Johnny boy. I hope you're well, mate. He said Lacroix led yesterday. He was immense, and I think we could put a full stop against that because he was. Long may that continue. And it brings me. I'm coming on to the another subject in a minute, boys. But before I do that, I just want to do quickly. I'll cover off the loan watch for the 7 guys that we're following. Owen Goodman conceded 3 goals yesterday for Wimbledon, who lost 3-2 away at Portsmouth. Joe Whitworth played 90 minutes for Exeter and let 2 goals in as they lost 2-0 away at Huddersfield. That's a bit of a surprise. Danny Emery played 90 minutes for Bromley, who drew 1-1 at Barrow. Jez Raksaki played the first 64 minutes for Sheffield and got the assist in their second goal in their 50th minute in their 2-0 win over Hull. Luke Plange came off the bench in the 79th minute for Helsinki and missed a penalty in the 82nd minute. And they lost 1-0 at home to Dynamo Minsk. And David Ozo on loan at Derby County and Teo Adramola at Stockport County, both still missing from their respective squads due to injury. Right.
Nick, before you move on, I just want to comment about a couple of those loanees that you've mentioned there, if that's all right.
Please do.
Bloke I sit with, Dave Taylor, sat next to him for years at Palace, known him for 30 plus years. He went to Bromley on Saturday, saw Bromley draw 1-1 with Barrow in League Two, and he said Danny Imre, class down the right-hand side, they really like him. So he's doing very, very well, and it's just worth mentioning that as someone that's watched him play for 90 minutes, sort of second-hand knowledge. And the other thing was Jez Ragsaki. Now, there's a very famous Palace Twitter account called Hopkin Looking to Curl One. Dan, I think his name is. He's got a huge following on Twitter. He asked the question of Sheffield United fans this weekend, what do we make of JRS? And loads of Sheffield United fans responded saying he's really looking the real deal. He's tracking back well. He's improving game on game. Please don't recall him in January, Palace. You know, we want him for the whole season. So he has really stepped up from the Charlton season now into the Championship, playing for a team that are towards the top of the Championship, obviously in Premier League last season, and he's doing very, very well. So this bodes well for us, because if he can come back, be it January or in the summer, and be an active part of our squad, then it's like having a new player that we signed. So really, really good news.
Well said. Well said. And talk about squad players. You know, the question I was going to ask you guys, and yesterday is the classic example, and I know we've alluded it to a couple of times tonight. Ian, you mentioned Anderson, who somebody said in the chat earlier. Okay, and obviously the question is about life after Olise. I'll be honest with you, with the first 7 games as they went, I was getting a little bit concerned. I was getting a little bit worried. We've only got 10 minutes left, boys, so I would like to know your thoughts. Did we yesterday prove that we now have life after Olise? Ian?
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, because, you know, look, up until yesterday, we hadn't played that badly. Now, hear me out. We hadn't been thrashed. You know, we hadn't lost 4 or 5. The only team that beat us by more than 1 goal was West Ham, and that was when we were pushing at 1-0, and they caught us on the counter, and we lost 2-0 in the second game. Really unlucky in the opening game not to get anything from it. You know, we've talked about that long and hard. Other games we've been unfortunate to come away with nothing. The Liverpool game, we deserve something out of that. We go to Stamford Bridge and draw 1-1 with a very good Chelsea team. We draw with Man United. I know they're crap this season, but we still draw with Man United. So we come from 2-0 down at home to Leicester when, you know, other teams might have given up. So look, you know, we haven't been terrible. We've been okay. We just haven't been great in the final third. And yesterday was the win we deserved. And we probably deserved more than 6 points, I think. I know I'm red and blue tinted spectacles, but I think we deserve more than the 6 points we've got. So therefore, I don't think we're as bad as people are making us out to be. And I think there's certainly, to answer your question in a long-winded way, there is certainly life after Michael Olise for sure.
You're on mute, Nick. Sorry.
Mute, Nick.
Tim?
Yeah, I agree with Ian. It was the same under Zaha. Oh, Palace never win when Zaha doesn't play. We got past that. So, yeah, obviously you're going to miss a player like Olise, because one of the big things is it took pressure off Eze. He could play because he wasn't the only player. But you move on, and I think we are moving on now.
Aaron, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, again, you said it a couple of pods ago. You're not going to replace Olise. He's too good to replace. Like, it's not even the same conversation, but we have good players around. You know, we've got Sarr. Get him up to speed. You know, he's going to do some damage. He's done damage in the Premier League before, so he's going to do it again. You know, Therese has made a good point as well. I actually forgot about this bloke as well. You know, we've got a 20 million Brazilian sitting in the wings. I know he's constantly injured at the moment, and, you know, time's going to tell if Dougie made a right choice on that one or not. But, you know, if they manage to get him up to speed, there's another winger that, you know, is destined for the future. So we can live life without Michael Olise. Let's just see what pans out. Ian said it before. I don't think that there's a saying you're too good to go down, but I don't think we're going to go down. I think we've got too much quality. We've got a lot of quality in that squad when it's purring, and it showed yesterday. I think we've been unlucky in the first couple of games, as we've alluded to, especially the Brentford game. That was ridiculous. We should have more points on the board than what we do. But there has been some poor performances as well. We've got to allow these boys time to settle in, get playing the way that they want to play. And let's just see what's going to happen. I don't think getting rid of the manager is the answer either. So,
and I certainly think that the Anderson sale is proving to be quite good value for money now. With Lacroix sitting quite comfortably in between Gay and Chalobah. John Ellicott makes a very good point. Saul will fill the Olise gap. He's just needed to play to be given game time. Kamada was getting that until yesterday and hadn't really proven to be the replacement. Saul has. He's building up some understanding with Eze and Mateta. Thought he played very well. Yeah, well said, mate. Well said. Okay, thank you for that, guys. I just wanted to get into that a little bit, and because that was actually the essence of the last couple of shows. Olise this and Olise that, Anderson this and Anderson that. So very good. Right, moving on to the fixtures up and coming. I better tell you some of these here in case you're not too sure. It's just too easy. It's just too easy. So obviously we're playing the Carabao Cup on Wednesday night away at Villa Park. Safe travels to everybody going up there.
I'll be there.
You have to get that. And we stay in the Midlands for away at Molyneux on Saturday for this is the live TV game at Wolves at 5:30 on Saturday evening. Then we got Fulham at home on the 9th of November. Aston Villa away on the 23rd of November. Now, one of these games likely to be moved. And then we're at home to Newcastle on my wife's birthday on the 30th of November, and away at Portman Road on Tuesday, the 3rd of December. There cannot be December. Oh my good God, that means Christmas is around the corner. There you go. We've got an action-packed few weeks coming up. So what do we think about a cup run then, boys? If we beat Villa, there's still some big teams in there, by the way. There's still some big teams in the Carabao Cup. Do you think we've got a chance of going any further on that? Aaron?
Well, I do, which is why I'm going. Because I think Aston Villa have got their mind on other things. They are top of the Champions League group at the moment of 24 teams, isn't it? 24, was that right? Or more than that?
32.
32, is it? Anyway, they're top, 3 wins out of 3. Premier League is important for them. I think they'll field an understrength side, but their understrength side will still be very good. The players they do off the bench are still very good.
They've got like 2 starting 11s at the moment, mate.
They're not quite multi, but they're decent. They've got strength in depth. So I just want to make sure that if we do get to Wembley, I've been to every round, so that's why I'm going on Wednesday night.
Tim, your thoughts?
Why not? I mean, they've got confidence now from yesterday. It'll be interesting to see the team he picks. But yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
He did say, obviously, he Glasner when he come in, I think we all remember it, that he wants to have a full go at the cup. So, but what we've got to be very careful of is we're carrying a fair few knocks at the moment as well. We have to be careful with that. Lerma's gone down again. We're missing players like Riyadh, France. So, all these players that we're missing at the moment, we're quite... Decore. So... Richards, I think he's going to have an eye. Look, the Wolves game is a big game as well. They're below us. That's a team that, in my opinion, we've got to go there and we've got to beat them. So I think he will have a bit of an eye on that. So I'm going to be honest, I'm unsure what team he's going to pick for Villa. I'm very unsure. But look, he did say he wanted to have a go at the Cups as well. So, let's see what he does.
Ladies and gentlemen, please follow us on our Twitter account. It's run ably by our Mr. Noble because he's got plenty of time because he doesn't go to very many games. And also follow, that's our Twitter account, @red_blue_review, and our Instagram account that is ably run by Tom Clark Samuel. He does a lot of work. He's asking you folks if you'd be so kind to comment on some of the stuff that he writes. He does match reviews and match previews and everything else. Stick a comment in there. Say somebody's actually looking at it. Can we have that account back up, please, Nige. So it's red underscore and underscore blue underscore review. Okay, give him a like, share, or follow, whatever you do on Instagram, because I'm not a fan. I don't play with Instagram, but there you go. Give it a like, share, or follow if you can, guys. And our next show. When's our next show? I can't remember. I'm sure it's coming up right now, and there it is, next Sunday, the 3rd of November, 8 o'clock. We will be back. I believe I'm in the chair, Ian. Am I?
You're in the chair. I'm on with you, and with us are two people that would have been to Aston Villa with me and also to Wolves on the day before. So Paul and Yasmin are back next week with us or next Sunday.
Good stuff. Great. And looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, out in YouTube land, out in Facebook land, or wherever you are listening to this podcast, following this broadcast, thank you very much for joining us. Aaron, thank you for getting up so early, mate. You've been a superstar as always. Don't leave it so long.
I'll try.
Ian and Tim, all the best here. And in the background, don't forget, Nigel Croucher, as always, you're a superstar and we love you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, Nick, and the rest of the team, I wish you well. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.